In part 4, I touched on how to reconcile IT assets through various sources of data. Let's take this a step further with a hard example of what we often see happens in the market. Imagine there are two different sources of data, and each one has two assets. Now, how many assets do you actually have? What we see are three different scenarios where indeed both data sources have assets and asset attributes that indeed are the same. In that case, you have two. We often see that the two data sources actually have two assets that are separate and two assets that are separate there. And how many assets do you have? You have four. And then to complicate matters even further, there are some data sources that have separate assets and then in many cases have overlapping or the same assets. And in that case, you have three. So you can see the complications of manually producing together various data sources and trying to reconcile what is the accurate asset inventory count. So the reality in this scenario is that you have anywhere between 2 and 4 assets. This makes reconciliation extremely difficult. Now imagine this challenge across many hundreds, thousands, and tens of thousands of assets, and the same on the number of sources being aggregated together. To reconcile inventory across various data sources, we have to analyze the attributes of each asset in each data source. Without it, we cannot truly get a unified, comprehensive inventory of every device that's touching the network. Without a unified, comprehensive view of your IT assets, you don't know how or where to even close those cybersecurity gaps. We also will not be able to clearly understand what assets are missing from each data source. As an example, Active Directory may have a list of assets that are not represented in the endpoint security data set. As a result, those missing assets in the endpoint security element are exposing security gaps. CIVCO is able to provide a comprehensive, unified view of total inventory across all of the data sources to help close those security gaps. Next, we're going to talk about why organizations not only need a comprehensive inventory, but also why they need to understand the dynamic changes of the attributes of the assets in that inventory.